Once upon a time, there was a wise and kind king, who ruled a prosperous kingdom. He was loved and respected by his people, and treated them with fairness and compassion. One day, a traveling merchant came to the king's palace, and presented him with a magic mirror. The merchant claimed that the mirror could show people their true form, both inside and out. The king was intrigued by the mirror, so he took it to his chamber, and started looking into it. He was astonished to see his reflection, which was more beautiful and intelligent than he had imagined. The king became fond of mirror. He used to spend the whole day looking at himself in it. He started believing that he was the best person in the world. He became arrogant and cruel. He treated his subjects with contempt. The people of the village had to suffer under the rule of the king. They were forced to work long hours for low pay. The king also increased taxes and imposed new laws, which made their lives even more difficult. One day, a wise old woman came to the kingdom. She had heard about the arrogance and cruelty of the king. She decided to try to teach the king a lesson. The old woman went to the king's palace and asked to meet him. The king was reluctant to see the old woman, but eventually he agreed. He thought she was just another beggar who wanted to beg for money. But the old lady was not there to beg, rather she was there to teach the king a lesson. The old woman told the king that she had a mirror which would show him his true form. The king became curious and agreed to look in the mirror. The king looked in the mirror and saw his reflection, which was ugly and crooked. The king became frightened. He did not understand what he was seeing. The old woman said, "This is your true form, king. You have become arrogant and cruel. You have mistreated your people. You must change your ways, otherwise you will lose everything." But the king refused to accept the truth, and was so angry that he ordered the wise old woman to be thrown into prison. And then he went back to his room, and looked in the mirror again. The king continued to look at himself in the mirror and told himself that he was kind and beautiful. But deep down he knew he was a liar. He could see the arrogance and cruelty in his eyes. He knew that he had mistreated his people. To console himself, the king decided to go to the village to meet his people. He wanted to see their faces and hear their words. He wanted to see the reality of the kingdom he ruled. When the king reached the village, he was astonished by what he saw. The people were thin and ragged. He looked tired and defeated. King realized that he was living in a bubble. He was so crazy about his looks that he did not care about the sufferings of his subjects. The king went back to the palace and freed the wise old woman. He apologized for his arrogance and cruelty. He promised to change his ways and become a better king. The old woman forgives the king and tells him that he can still change his ways. The king decided to become a better person. He started by visiting his people in their homes and listening to their problems. He also started working to improve the lives of his people. He also treated his subjects with respect. He lowered taxes, created new jobs, and built new schools and hospitals. The people of the kingdom were grateful for the king's change of heart. They once again loved and respected him. Now the king realized his mistake and decided to discard the mirror. He no longer needed it, because he had already learned his lesson well, and it was time to forget the past. The king called his trusted advisor and instructed him to dispose of the mirror. He explained that the mirror was a valuable lesson, but it was no longer needed. The advisor took the mirror and took it far away from the palace. He went to a deep valley and threw the mirror into the depths below. The mirror broke into thousands of pieces, and its pieces were destroyed forever. When the mirror was destroyed, the king watched from a distance. He felt a sense of relief wash over him. The mirror had been a burden for so long, and he was glad to be rid of it. With the mirror gone, the king could finally begin to heal. King moved on from his past and embraced the future. He became a better king, and his people were happy. And the mirror, with all its power and deception, was forgotten forever.